Welcome back to another episode of WJAG-TV. In this week's episode, we rap along with Cedar prodigies, learn to use our words instead of our fists with Restorative Justice, and learn the history of the Rock and Walter Wilkins Stadium. My name is Aaliyah Nowell.
And my name is Maganda.
And this is WJAG-TV with your weekly school news.
The Rock holds a significant amount of meaning at Cedar Shoals, especially for the players who were the first to step foot on Jaguar soil. Let's go to Trinice Anderson and Kiki Rayford for more information about the symbolism of the Rock.
When Cedar Shoals was built in 1972, the Jags played all their home football games at Clark Central for 13 years. We didn't get our own home stadium until 1985. The team would spend most days after school working together to clean up their field from cow manure and rocks, all to be allowed to practice on real grass before a game. Before every game, each player touches the rock before entering the play. The rock represents all the players who didn't get a chance to play on their home field.
The first game in the stadium was my senior year. I was a starting quarterback. I'm pretty sure we played Baldwin.
My sophomore year in 1986, I was on that very first team that ever played on the field, and that was very, very special because of doing something that you'd never done before, being a part of history.
It was an open kickoff, the very first play of the game, and after that, I actually threw the very first touchdown in the new stadium. So I'm very proud of that.
The Rock is special. The Rock was developed, the idea came along from Clemson University.
And the Rock was a symbol that they use actually to rub that rock before each game, home game, and it excited you to want to play hard and be the best player you could on that day.
Everybody touches the rock before we run out onto the field. So that's something that kind of grown up doing, and still today, when I come by the rock, I make sure I try to go and touch it.
It has a slogan on the end of that rock, and it says, "Those who have trotted on this all," and it's something else I can't remember because it's been so long ago, but it's a significant part of the school history.
The idea of touching the rock before every game came from Clemson University, and the rock was donated by the Chandlers in Elberton.
The rock is dedicated to some of the players that didn't get to play on this field.
We had to play at Clark Central.
I feel like it'll give us good luck, make us do better, and I feel like it's a tradition.
Every team has something that kind of symbolizes something like a connection to the past, so that's kind of what the rock means to us.
It's like the crowd's even bigger because it's like people not even from Athens come to the game. It feels good. It feels good to be a part of history, knowing that I could be a part of changing history last year. That was an amazing feeling.
The significance of the rock didn't get lost over time. Current players still touch the rock before every game and know the meaning behind it.
Although we sometimes on the scoreboard, it said we were the home team, but it just didn't feel like it because we had to travel across town.
Everything stopped in Clark County, and everybody was at that football game. And I think now it's came back to, it's gotten back even stronger now because it kind of balances out. Because one time Central went on a long winning streak, but Cedars kind of flipped the table on them.
I'd say it had to be back then in the past. For one, the teams was a lot more competitive then. Our first year having to play in that stadium was really big. For us, it made us really excited. I do believe it made us play a whole lot harder that day of that game.
None of those guys ever had the chance to actually say we had a home game and played on a home game, but I was one of the fortunate ones to actually play on the field, and it was a tremendous experience. It's something that you'll never forget. It's something that I've told my children over the years, and it's just an everlasting memory.
The rock represents home for many of the players at Cedar, amongst the dedication that drives the football program. This Friday, the 53rd Classic City Championship game, the Jaguars will take on their rivals, the Gladiators, for what they hope will be another win. For WJAG-TV, I'm Kiki Rayford.
I did not know Cedar and Central shared a field at one point in time. We're closer than we think, except for Friday night. Ain't that right, Jags? Leah Clemens, the head Restorative Justice consultant here at Cedar, wants to see a change in the way we look at handling conflict. Kayla Johnson gives more info. Let's look.
Restorative Justice is a new program that is being held here at Cedar that helps students resolve conflicts with one another. Ms. Clements is a strong advocate for restorative justice.
You know, when restorative justice began in Oakland, women, really, it was mothers of people of color who started this work. And they said they knew that every touch with the system, right, and it started in suspension, was a indicator of future involvement in our criminal legal system. And they were like, no, we're done with that. Like, we want to protect our children. So I think what got me into restorative justice was I was working in a women's prison in Georgia, and they were really curious about it. And I think in a lot of ways it embodied an alternative to the justice system that they had really experienced. And so we started just having conversations about what is restorative justice, and then we used circle processes to both kind of heal some of the harm that they experienced in their own lives, and then also to kind of deal with ongoing conflict that was kind of happening just between my students.
Restorative practices are built on the foundation of nonviolent communication and trying to look past a rule being broken and see what's going on underneath, see what students are going through, what led to the behavior in the first place.
It works best if folks are willing to honestly listen to the other side of the story.
What you're going to gain is a deeper sense of community and connection, and hopefully an understanding that the adults that come to work in this building care about their students, care about their jobs, want everyone to be successful.
I think it's really natural that people would be a little uncertain about Circle. I think one piece that always comes up is how did you hear about it? How did you know this was something that was going on? Which is, I get it. Usually I'll tell people that birdies told me.
Teachers are aware of conflicts that happen between students and want to implement restorative practices into Cedar's culture.
So for me, the culture of Cedar Shoals has always been about community, and I feel that this is not only my community in the sense of this is where I teach.
I think the culture of Cedar is one of relationships matter a lot. Relationships between students, relationships between teachers, even relationships with administrators. Those relationships matter so much. The hope is how do we leverage those relationships so that we can build an even better Cedar?
I think that restorative practices is hopefully going to make this place more inclusive of people who may have felt that, students who may have felt their voices haven't been heard. And I hope that this will serve to shift the culture in the direction of all students feeling that they're part of this community, that they're not only valuable members, but they make up the culture, and that they have an opportunity to impact the culture positively as well as adults do. I think it just builds trust, and it shows that students are often in the position of being told what to do and maybe feeling like they're subjects rather than participants.
We meet in D108, and if you are interested in swinging by and saying hello to us, or in having a conversation about possibly being a part of a circle with you, or maybe you have some friends, or maybe even something with a teacher, then feel free to, usually going through an administrator or a teacher is the best way to get on our radar. They can email us.
To contact Leah or Imani, another leader, you can email them at clementsout@clark.k12.ga.us and blackwelli@clark.k12.ga.us. For WJAG-TV News, this has been Kayla Johnson.
There is so much power in your words. Violence doesn't always have to be our only option. There is a lot of hidden talent at Cedar Shoals, and Imani Foot is going to show us how much. Let's take a look.
Soundcloud is a multi-platform service for sharing audio, dating back to 2007, but Sankar really made a mark 10 years after debut with the song Look at Me by X, released in 2015, but with double platinum in 2017, gaining 167 million views on SoundCloud and 281 million on YouTube. This meant a pathway for other rappers like Ski Mask, Lil Pump, Trippie Redd, Trapper Scott, 21 Savage, and a few here at Cedar.
My favorite rappers is Jake Rich, another one is Freshie, and then probably Lil Tecca.
Favorite rappers, Lil Z Vert, Playboy Cardi, and Lil Mosey.
Of course it's YoungBoy, definitely. But he inspired me because even though he take L's, he turns me into W's every time.
What made me become a SoundCloud rapper? I don't know, I just sort of just felt like I could make raps too.
So my flow, I would say, is most influenced by a rapper named Lil Mosey. My lyrics probably come from my brother, just because that's who I was around when he was rapping, and I took a lot from his lyrics. And they also come from me. That's the lyrics I like to write. And my style, it's really just a mixture of all the rap I listen to.
I would sort of have to say Lil Pump and Lil Z Vert.
Well, my brother, when he started rapping back in high school, that's what made me want to start rapping. And he would always like mix my stuff for me, and then he would just post it. And then once he left the house, then I just started doing that, and I just started to do it on my own.
With Blanco and at his studio, and he really just do all the stuff on his own. I don't know how he do it. I just record.
But it was like a cheap microphone and like my dad's laptop.
Oh, I use GarageBand, but there's actually a lot of features on there. A lot of people don't think there is, but if you know how to use it, then it's pretty good.
To be honest, right now it's more so of a hobby.
If I keep my head into it, yeah, definitely.
I really don't plan on taking it that far, but what I do plan on doing is opening like a studio and maybe becoming like a studio engineer. So that means I mix people's vocals, you know, just as a side job, because I don't really think rapping could be a serious job.
Well, my mom, she was down for it, but like I sort of like hit the whole hobby from my dad. My dad, I knew he was gonna trip about the lyrics and everything. Like, why can't you make a clean song?
They with me. It's just like, if I was just not doing it at all, they still with me.
They know about it and they listened to it before. They didn't really like the lyrics, but they said I got a good voice, so.
My fan base, to be honest, I don't think it's that big, but like, my songs still get plays, so.
How big? I don't know how big it is, but it's growing fast. I definitely know who my biggest fan is. They in this school right now. That's Maya. She's definitely my biggest friend. Rollerwood Tasha, every time. Geek, that be at my mind. All right, so the hook, when I start my hooks, I just go off how I'm feeling at the moment. And as you can hear in my lyrics, that's how it was. So yeah.
Run it to a million, how you down to ride? When you don't even feel them, you be switching sides. So this is the opening verse on my latest song, Envy Me. And what this is talking about, like, people are there, people aren't gonna be there from the journey to get to your goal, but they're always gonna be there at the end. So if you're trying to get to the NFL and you're grinding out, you're staying late from practice every day, people aren't gonna be there with you. But then when it's draft day and you get picked up, people are gonna be there to celebrate. And I'm just calling out all those fake people, so yeah.
It's called flexing. Swerving the coupe and I dash like a ball. I mean, I stay paid because like, I'm really humble about all the money I get. Like, I don't go out and just buy expensive clothes just because I got it. Gotta save it and think smart.
This has been Imani Foot from WJAG-TV News, signing off.
What if you could vote early? Let your voice be heard. Dominic Bielli and Dennis Maganda get student feedback on the early voter registration booth that was set up for seniors born before March 26 in 2002. Let's take a look.
On September 26, a collection of teachers and representatives of affiliations like the Economic Justice Coalition and Delta Sigma Theta came during students' lunch periods to register as many students to vote as they could.
Probably my fourth year, maybe fifth year of doing voter registration at Cedar Shoals. So I say that to say that I've got like a lot of experience doing it, and a lot of the people that are here today have been helping out over the years with this. It's just a matter of reaching out to the people like Miss Linda Lloyd. She's the executive director of the Economic Justice Coalition. Miss Angela Gay, she's a social worker here in town, or excuse me, at Cedar Shoals, and she's been very helpful with arranging this.
And this is a joint venture of Athens Alumni Chapter, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, and Economic Justice Coalition. So you have a lot of Deltas that work for the Cedar Shoals in your counseling department. So this is kind of like home. It's kind of like community coming into the schools.
It's basically the small group of people come together to coordinate larger groups of people to come and take part in making it happen.
The vote now, if you are high schoolers, you can register to vote at 17 and a half. Like today we are out here September 26th. So if you are going to be 18 by March 26, 2020, you can register to vote.
It's very quick. You can do it online or you can do it on paper, but you're just filling out your name, your address, your birth date. You're going to fill out, it's going to ask you questions about your race and gender, your race and ethnicity and gender.
Yeah, it was easy. I just had to sign my name. I thought voting was a lot harder, but it's actually not.
As well as doing the voter registration, the group was also working to inform more students about the significance of voting and why they should take the time to understand its importance.
When you get to be 18, one of the responsibilities of being a citizen is to vote. And I'm not saying who you vote for, but you should vote. I think that's a rite of passage. Once you become 18, you're ready to vote and you vote.
But I mean, really, if you want to create change, voting is one way you can do that.
Because a lot is happening around and we're getting older. Just feel like if we're going to be the future of America, so I guess you want to choose the right person that's going to lead our country. Like I said, our age voting, you see a lot of older people and not really much younger people. And we should take advantage of that because, this is our country, we live here too, so.
I chose to teach government and civics and to be on the Board of Elections for Clark County and to do all these other things I'm doing because it's so important, right? Like I want students to understand the power that they have. Like if you want change, if you want a better society, if you want racial justice, if you want economic justice, if you want the best society possible, then participating as a voter is one of many things that you should be doing to help make that happen. Know that if you don't vote, other people are going to do it, right? And whether or not they agree with you, that you don't know that, right? So they're going to vote and they're going to make decisions and they're going to put people in power. They're going to make decisions about your life and things that affect you, your family, your loved ones, your society. So if you don't vote, you're not using your voice, and it's important that you use your voice to vote.
This has been Dennis Maganda and Dominic Bielli from JAG-TV News, signing off.
Now to sports.
On September 18th, the cross-country team traveled to Riverside Military Academy. Here's Dominic with the story.
On September 18th, the cross-country team traveled to Riverside Military Academy where they placed 4th out of 10 teams, with runner Josh Williams placing 8th overall in boys varsity with a time of 16:55.
As an individual, I think I did pretty well. I ran a 16:55, I believe, which is usually pretty good.
I feel good. I got a PR and I finished, I think, either third or second at Cedar between our varsity, and I PR'd, so I feel like I did good. It was one of my better races.
Despite their good performance in the meet, there are always things the team is working on.
One thing that I think we need to improve on is more on time. We have gotten lower on our times. I know for me, I do need to lower my times the most, or that I feel like I accomplished, or I did something very well this year. So I believe I need to lower my times.
I think I need to probably just pace myself better because I went faster the first mile and the other miles I went slower.
Heading to the next meet, I've always started off really, really fast, so I think I just need to slow down, kind of pace myself to do a little bit better.
For WJAG-TV Sports, this has been Dominic Bielli.
Cedar on 3! Cedar on 3! 1, 2, 3, Cedar!
Great job, Jags. This past Friday, the Cedar Shoals Jaguars faced off against the Stevens County Indians, winning the game 36-7.
He did a pretty good job. He's trying to get back healthy and trying to get back in the swing of things, and we'll need both of them to be successful because I think the Winder game, Carver had way too many carries, so we got to make sure we kind of balance them out a little bit, and it keeps us a little more versatile. Again, go about the fundamentals. Now, Oconee made some pretty good plays against us. They made some great plays in the back end, but we again going back to fundamentals, and it helped also that Stevens County is a wing T team. They don't throw it as much and don't quite have the effective passing game that Oconee does, so that helps us a little bit too. But we still had to make some plays in the secondary, and they did much better. The key is the ball. We tell the ball. It's all about the ball.
Yeah.
And it sounds simple, but it's just that simple. When the ball's in there, you got to go attack it and get the ball in, and we did a little better job doing that. I first met Coach Perno when he was the baseball coach at Georgia. And I was over at Clark Central, so we kind of got a relationship then, and now he's the head coach over there, and I'm the coach over here. Well, they've lost a few players on defense, but they still have that discipline, and they get after the ball pretty good. So you can't really look at the points total to figure out how good they are on defense. But we got to do what we do. We got to be able to run the football. That's against anybody who we play. Got to establish a line of scrimmage and make a couple plays in the passing game to keep them honest.
We went to Central to see what Coach Perno had to say about the upcoming Central versus Cedar game.
Just trying to get healthy. We've had a lot more injuries than years past, and we were able to get a couple back. We're still waiting on a few, but we're getting a little more healthy than we've been all year. It's going to be a different game, different style for us. I think last year on both ends it was a defensive-oriented game, and I think this year we got to score some points. I think a lot of our strength from our team is on our offensive side, and so that puts a little more onus. Last year we played through our defense. You'll go into the game with an idea of what you want to do and how you want to attack it, but you just never know what's going to show up and how we're going to be most effective moving the ball. But it's nice to have that luxury where if we got to get in a shootout and we got to do it through the air, we can, but if we need to round it out, we can do that as well, where I think last year it was more or less all we had was a ground game. We didn't have much air attack. We got to forget what happened with them in Oconee, forget what happened with us in Oconee, and forget what happened the front part of the season, and we got to go right now. And Friday is when our real season starts.
That was a great win for Cedar Shoals, and they hope to keep that momentum in this Friday's game against Clark Central. That's it for this week's WJAG-TV Sports News. Back to the studio.
Well, that concludes this week's news. We'll be back next week with all new stories on the Cedar Shoals Jaguars and the Eastside community. Again, my name is Aaliyah Nowell.
And I'm Dennis Maganda.
And this has been WJAG-TV with your weekly school news.